In the previous course, you learned how you can use SwiftUI view modifiers to modify the style of your views. So far though, you've only used a handful of view modifiers: kerning, bold, font, line spacing, and multi-line text alignment to be specific. But there are a ton more view modifiers than that. In this episode, you'll learn about 4 more: padding, foreground color, background, and corner radius. You'll use these to style the Hit Me button in your app and to improve the padding of some of the other views. Let's get back to Xcode and start styling. Our goal is to make the button look more like Luke's design, where we have a blue background, white text, a little bit of padding, and so on. So we're going to do that with view modifiers, as we've done before. So we're going to click plus, go over to the view modifier panel, and this time, instead of choosing from the text view modifiers, we're going to go to layout, and there's one called background. And we're going to drag that in right below this curly brace after we create the button, right before we call alert. And I'm going to hit enter on this line to get onto a new line. And we can set anything as the background, any view, but let me just click this, double click this to clear out that placeholder. And then I'm going to click the plus here and see what kind of, what do we want to put here as the background. Well, I'm going to scroll down and choose, instead of one of these views, I'm just going to drag in a color, which is something else we can use. And this default constructor for color is letting us choose any RGB color value that you can get from Photoshop or other programs, but I'm not actually going to use that. I'm going to delete all of that, and I'm going to put a dot after color because Xcode, or Swift actually, comes with some preset colors we can use, and we're going to just use the preset color for blue for right now. Another thing I'm going to do is just hit tab and select this as well, and hit tab to move that over a bit. The next thing I'm going to do is add the foreground color, because now we can't even read our text because the default color for the text is actually blue, and it's not over a blue background, so we can't see anything. So we're going to select the second tab, which is the modifiers library. And in effects, we see foreground color. So I'm going to drag that one over, and I'm going to change from .blue to color.white. And hit tab there as well. And now we can see our text. And now I want to have some padding because it's just really close together here, and I want it to have more space around the text hit me like we see in the button here. So we're going to use our friend padding for that. So I'm going to click plus, and inside layout there's one called padding, so I can drag that in. And I'm going to, instead of .all, I'm just going to put a value of 20.0 in there. But this didn't do what I expected here. What I wanted was for this blue to expand up until the edges here, but instead the blue background is still only in the same space, even though our button has gotten bigger with padding. So what's going on here? If you recall from the last course, you learned that each time you apply a view modifier, it returns a new copy of your view, but with a new style applied. For example, you learned that if you take a text view, make it transparent, and then apply a border, the result will be a border that is not transparent, at least if you do it in that order. Let's use that idea of order matters to think about what happened here. First, you had a plain view that said hit me. We'll call that view number 1. Then you took view number 1 and applied a blue background color, which returned a new view, which we'll call view number 2. Then you took view number 2 and applied a white foreground color to it, and you got view number 3. Finally, you took view number 3 and applied some padding around the edges. Now the way padding works is it takes the original view, adds some extra transparent space around the edges, and returns the new, bigger view. If we want the blue background color to apply throughout the view, we need to apply the padding before we set the background color, like this. This time we apply the padding first, which creates a new, bigger view number 2. Then we can apply the background and foreground color to the entire bigger view. Little Swifty once told me that size doesn't matter, but order definitely does. So let's fix this up and keep styling. Let's move this padding modifier to the top, which we can do by editor, structure, move line up, or my preference, which is to hit Option Command left bracket a couple times. And we can see that now it looks the way we want. Except in Luke's design, he had rounded edges around this button, and right now it's just not rounded at all. So we can fix that with another modifier. So I'm going to hit the plus button right here and scroll down and it's actually in the effects group. There's one called corner radius. We'll drag that in. And let's see what Luke has as the corner radius. I'm going to click this and scroll down to where I can see the CSS. And it says the border radius is 21 pixels. So we'll change this from 3 to 21. And now we have some nice rounded edges for our button. And one more thing I'm going to do to the button here is the text. If I click on this, the font weight is bold. So we're going to add a bold modifier to this as well. And I can just copy the bold modifier that I've done earlier. Actually, I put this in the wrong place. I don't want to bold the button. I want to bold the text hit me that's inside the button. So sorry, let me move that up there. And now we can see that it's bold. What else do we need to do with this font here? So if I click on this text here, we can see that the font size is 21 pixels. And we go back to our chart. The closest one to 21 is title 3. So that's what we're going to set it to. And so we can just use this example here. But instead of large title, we're going to do .title 3. And now it looks about right. All right, so one more thing about this hit me button. So back in Luke's design, you can see the text here is uppercase, whereas we don't have it uppercase. So we could just change this text to be all uppercase, but what if Luke changes his mind later and says, actually, I want it to be lowercase. We don't want to be messing with this all the time. So it turns out that there's another helper method on string that can help us with this. So how do we learn about that? We use our friend the developer documentation. So in Swift standard library, we click string and we see what kind of useful things can we find here to help us. So I'm going to scroll through here. So we have creating strings, converting from other types of strings, writing to files, appending to strings, inserting characters, and so on. But here we go. About the 50% mark, we see a section here called changing case. And this lets you take a string and make a lowercase string based on it, or make an uppercase string on it. So that's exactly what we want. So we're just going to take hit me. So this is a string. This, anything in quotes is a string. And then at the end of that, we can call uppercased on it. And that will convert our text to be uppercased. And now that we know how to do that, we can clean up this bit of code here. We put it all in caps, and we can make it not caps. And then just call uppercased at the end of it. And that just makes our code a little bit cleaner. Another thing we want to do is just add a little more spacing between where the slider and the labels are and the button and the label before it. And also some more padding on the left and right as well. So if we go to the portrait mode, we see there is a little more space to left and right of what we have currently. So we can apply padding to this entire H stack just by doing .padding at the end. And now you can see things are spaced out and it already looks a lot better.